Welcome to another video. Today we'll be going over some built-in math functions and the math module in Python. So the first functions we'll be going over are the min and max functions, and these are built in, and these functions take some arguments and it gives either the minimum or the maximum. So let's make a variable, we'll call it x, and then all we have to type out is min, add some parentheses, and then within the parentheses, we can just enter in the arguments. So here, let's type in 1, 10, and 5. So this returns 1 because 1 is the not 1, print x. Yeah, so it returns 1 because 1 is smaller than 5 and 10 and it is the minimum number. So we can also make another variable y, and we can call this max 1, 10, and 5, and this returns 10. So let's also print out y after that, and then we get 10 as well. So 1 is the minimum and 10 is the maximum. And if you are familiar with lists, since the min and max functions technically can take any iterable arguments, you can pass in a list. So I can just call this nums, and I can actually make it 1, 10, and 5. And then within the inside of these functions, I can write nums, and then print x, print y. And this will still give us the same thing because it treats the two ways of doing it the same. So there might be a situation where you don't actually know which of the numbers you want to find the min and max value of, and they might be in a list, so you can also use these functions on lists, which is great. All right, so the next function is the abs function. Now this just returns the absolute value or the positive value of the number specified with inside the parentheses. So I'll make a variable called a, and we'll call it the absolute value, and let's do -9, and we can print out a, and here it prints out 9 because the absolute value of -9 is 9. So this one's pretty simple. You can also pass in positive numbers, but that doesn't really do anything. So if there's ever a situation where you don't know if a number's positive or negative and you want the positive version, you can use the abs or absolute value function. So this, we have -9 returns 9. Now the next function is the pow function, which is similar to this operator. So I'll make a variable e, and let's say pow 2, 3. So what this does is it takes two arguments, and this will return 2 to the third power, which is 8. So it returns the first value to the power of the second value. So this little caret here just represents an exponent, and so when we print this out, it should give us 8. Now you can also do this. I'll just make a temporary variable like this, and we can print out z, and this will also give us 8. So it's similar to this operator, but it makes a little bit more sense if you're kind of just scanning through the code. Pow, short for power. So yeah, this function is pretty simple. All right. So that is all the built-in functions. So now let's move on to the math module. So now I'm going to import the math module. Let's just import math. And this module allows you to perform many operations that you couldn't otherwise perform very easily with normal Python syntax. So the first method is the math dot square root, Sqrt for short. So let's make another variable called s. This could be math dot sqrt. Let's go with 25. Let's print out s. So it gives 5.0. So this returns 5.0. So it returns a float. Because in the event that it is like not a square number, like for example, let's say we passed in 3, we would get a decimal. But when you pass in 25, and that is a square number, it'll just return 5. So there are also some functions that you can use for rounding. So math.ceil and math.floor. So let's say make a variable math.ceil, and let's go with 1.3. Let's print C. So this gives us 2, and even though with traditional rounding you round down here because it's less than 0.5, you round up because that's what the ceil function does. Ceil is short for like ceiling. So this returns 2. And the floor does the exact same thing except the opposite. So I could have something like 1.9 a bunch of times, and this would, of course be 2, except if we run this, it'll floor and round down. So this returns 1. So you can think of the floor function as kind of just chopping off all the numbers to the right of the decimal point. And the final one is, let's say you're doing some calculations and you need the value pi. This is not a function, but the math module does have a constant called math.pi, so we can assign pi equals math.pi. And then let's just print it out just to see. And it has pi to a couple of decimal points. So yeah, that's the basics of built-in math functions and the math module in Python.